Hello, fellow South Africans. It's time to continue learning how to trade. So in this video, you know me, I don't have like a long intro. I just get straight to it. So here we're just gonna be talking about. I'll just give you like few tricks. Inside the trend line. What's the trend line? How do you go about? What is the trend line? How should I draw it? And how should I try and modify it? Blah blah blah. So that will all be covered in this lesson. So a trend line, number one, first thing that you need to know about a trend line is that when you are trading a trend line, for me to be able to draw a bullish trend line, I must have a higher high on my chart. So you must break the high for me to be able to draw a bullish trend line, for me to say the structure is bullish. I can remember I made there's a video that I made about trend line where I showed you that you need to know the structure, blah blah blah. So just make sure that you check that one out. Here I'm just gonna show you the tricks that a trend line. So I need to make a high. So a bullish trend line, for me to draw it, if the structure is like this, I should never make a mistake of saying this is a trend line, because it is not. It takes you back to the structure. So you can check that full video, trend line, about when I linked it with the market structure. And so here we are saying, for us to be able to draw a bullish trend line, we need to have a higher high. So meaning this high that we have there, we need to first go above it. That's when I can have a bullish trend line. Right? So that's the first thing that you need to note. And another thing that you need to know is that when you are for your bullish trend line, you don't have to accommodate all the recent lows. You don't have to accommodate, not recent, but all the old lows you have on your chart. What do I mean by that? So you just need only two recent lows. So what do I mean by that? So the price can move like this, guys. Can move like this, can move like this. So when I'm drawing my trend line, I don't have to try and make sure that every low on my chart is accommodated, or every low is accommodated. No, you don't have to do that, because remember, that's the old structure. It's not going to help you. We are only interested in the current structure to know what is happening. So when you're drawing a trend line, you just need, so if let's say I've got low, when I'm drawing my trend line, I don't have to try and end up drawing a trend line like that. I just need the two recent lows. So here we're talking about a bullish one. Obviously, when you're talking about the bearish one, it will be two recent highs. Right? So we just need, this is the first low, but remember, for me to be able to use this one, I need a higher high. That one is very, very key. I need a higher high. So we did have a high here, we went above it, so it means we can have a bullish trend line. I have a high high, but now it comes the point, the question now, which lows do I use now to join my trend line? Only the two recent lows, which is this and that. So your trend line should be there. So that's the second trick that you need to know about trend line. So when it moves, so so this can also be point number 2, or it can be point number 3 on its own. I want to say, when you have new high, we're still going to give an example like a bullish one. So we're just keeping it bullish, but remember, you can swap everything around, and then it will be true for bearish. When you have a new high, adjust your trend line to accommodate the recent low that resulted in the move that formed that new high. When you have a new high, so the recent low that formed that must be part of your trend line. So what I mean by that is that if you are moving like this, and we are here, obviously, okay, in this case we don't have a trend line yet. Obviously, when we have a higher high, our trend line is here, and then if let's say the price comes down and then it goes back up. If it takes out this high, if it has a new high, when you say, I said when you have a new high, make sure that you adjust your trend line and what accommodate the new low that formed that. I took it out. So I said you must accommodate that high, so that low. So what I mean by that is that, remember, the structure was like this, and we said this is where you put your trend line. So as soon as you make a new high, which is this one, this is the new, it's a higher high, you must accommodate the low that resulted in that high. I get this low, this is the low that formed this move. Let's change the color. This is the low that formed this move, and this move is the one that gave us a higher high. So you must accommodate this low, meaning the new trend line must start from here and there. Because remember I said, so this one you don't have to accommodate. Remember I said you don't have to accommodate the old lows. You just need 2 recent lows on your chart to be able to draw what a bullish trend line. So that's point number 3, I think, because I clicked here and then I removed everything. So point number 4, or trick number 4, would be that never, let's say, buy when bearish trend line is still holding. So what do I mean by that? So if the price is doing this, okay, but here's the condition: unless you hit a higher time frame zone, support area, or support area or resistance area. So if you hit the higher time frame support area or resistance area, then you can try and get an early entry even though the trend line hasn't been broken. So this is what I mean by this. So this one can be tricky, especially if you're still new, if it's still a new concept to you, né? Because remember the idea going H4, né? The structure on H4 has higher chances of working out than the structure on H1, and the structure on daily has a higher chances of working out or winning against the structure on H4. The structure on weekly, as if it's put against the structure on daily, it is most likely gonna win. So what do I mean by that? If let's say the price is moving down like this, and we are looking at H1, né? We are looking at H1, and then on H4 or daily says what? This is my support. This is support, maybe let's say on daily or H4, which is higher than H1, eh? So H1 is saying what? H1 is saying what? Sell, because it is what? It's bearish. Mara H4 and daily, they're saying what? Buy, because of what? We have hit their support. So in this case, the higher time frame, which is daily or H4, the structure has a high chance of working out and violating all the structure on a smaller time frame, which is what I'm talking about here. So that concept, when you want to put it into context, read this: you must never buy unless the trend line is broken, or unless if you hit a higher time frame thing. So if this is our, still giving an example like H1, you must never buy on H1. I can't be saying let me buy here and then I'll exit there. Don't do that. How do you know where this thing is gonna turn here? Because remember, it's bearish. It's bearish. You can touch the trend line and continue dropping like that. Must always be on the side at the structure. If this is H1, if I sold there, I'm just holding. I'm not trying to say it's gonna, you shouldn't try and put your trend line here. You shouldn't try and put this here and say I'm going to buy. No, we are bearish. We are not buying. We are bearish. The only time I can buy is if the structure like the one that I just gave you now. I said unless if you hit a higher time frame zone, unless if you hit a higher time frame support, or the H4 or daily support. If I hit H4 and daily support, and then I check, am I still on my daily? I mean on my H1 is like this, and then it gives me pin bars there, I can buy. That's the only time I can buy, even though the H1 trend line is still holding, guys, because I'm buying based on what? The higher time frame structure. Remember I said the higher time frame has a higher chances of working out and violate the lower time frame structure. So this H4 support or this daily support has higher chances of working out and holding and pushing the price up and violate what? The H1 trend line that we're seeing here. But if I'm buying, remember, we don't have to try and act like magic. As much as we're saying it has higher chances of working out, when I get there, I can take out some of my profits and move to break even, because it can still come down and then give you this and then before taking off. But I just wanted to give you the concept during, if the bearish trend line is holding, never buy on the same time frame. You must never buy on H1 if H1 trend line is bearish. Don't buy. The only time you're allowed to buy on that H1 is if the structure is the price is now inside a higher time frame zone, which is what? Daily or H4 or even higher than that. Mara still, even after buying, we are saying after buying, can still exit there and wait for the price to take this thing out. So you can exit there, or you can close half your profit, and then the other half you can move it to break even. You can leave it there and hope the price can play around before taking off. Then you know you're still safe. You got your early entry there at the bottom. So that's trick number 4. And then the last thing, here's the last thing. It can be number 5. You can still have number 6. So number 5 will be, if we are on this time frame, if let's say we are on H4, let's say we are trading H4, and then H4 gives us up and then up, it means H4 trend line is here. So this is our H4, keep that in mind. Our H4 trend line is there, and now when it gives us this pullback, it gives a pullback that looks like this, down like this. Are you aware that, okay, let me make it so that it's clear to you guys. Gives you this. Are you aware that it gave you working? This is a low, this is a low. It gave you a lower low, meaning we can have a bearish trend line. We can have a bearish trend line here. But keep in mind, good people, I'm still going to make another video. Keep in mind that just because we have a bearish trend line does not mean we are bearish. For us to be bearish, we need to remove the support. We need to break support areas and form resistance areas. If we don't remove support areas, the support areas are still intact. So how are we bearish? So the momentum, this smaller short-term momentum of this pullback, it is just bearish. And that momentum is just, remember, that's just because the momentum is bearish. If the structure is bullish, we are only focusing on buys. So we'll wait for it to come and maybe hit the trend line here. Then I can take a buy and go up. Or you can say, because of this bearish momentum, now I'm scared, I don't want to buy as yet. You can wait for it to remove the short-term momentum line or bearish trend line. This short-term one, this one. If you are scared to take a trade here, I wouldn't be scared, because of what? We haven't removed any support. We are still bullish. As much as we can say the momentum here seems to be pushing down and forming lower lows, but it hasn't removed the key structure, bullish move, which is a support. If you don't break a support, how are you going down then? How are you saying you are making progress to the downside if you don't break the support? So now if you get here and it gives me pin bars or any confirmation that I can get, I'm going to buy. I can buy, and when I get there, maybe put that as profit number 1 or close half, and then hope that it will break to the other side. And someone can say, nah, I'm still scared, I don't want to buy yet because the momentum here is pushing down. Then they will wait to enter like this. They will wait for that short-term momentum line to be broken, and then they can take maybe a pullback to this. And then maybe there's a demand there or a pullback to the trend line or the broken one, then they take a buy. Now already I'm entered. So that's trick number 5. Just because we have this, we can have a short-term momentum line or trend line, short-term one. But if we don't break the support, we are not bearish. Keep that in mind. We are not bearish until we remove the support. For us to say we are bearish, we need to violate the support and form the resistance. But if we don't do that, then we're not bearish. And then the last point, 6, and the last would be what? I gotta remember the momentum line. If the price pushes down, this is our H1. If it pushes down into our H4, I said you can take a buy, even though this trend line is still holding. You can take a buy because of what? It has hit a higher time frame support. And then but now what happens if let's say it does the same thing? Let's say it does the same thing. It goes down, but it does not hit our support. Here's our support. Here's our support on H4. This is our H4. This is our H1. We are looking at H1, but we know that we have a H4 support there. Ne? What if when you are waiting to say, come inside here, I want to take a buy. Come here, I want to take a buy. And then the price doesn't get there, but rather it does what? It breaks the trend line while it is still there. What are you going to do then? What if the trend line, so that's the trick number 6. What if the trend line gets broken before we even hit the area where we want to buy? Because remember, we can say H4 is still bullish, and for us to buy, we need to hit what? The H4 support. Then we're looking for buying opportunities. We're buying. But when we're looking at H1 is still bearish. When you want to trade what? The H4. Let's say your trend line your trend, your areas of interest, okay, you are trading the time frames are H4 maybe daily, blah blah, you want to take a buy, but now you haven't had what? An area, the thing hasn't hit your support, your H4 support, so you can't buy, but it has broken the trend line that you're looking for. How would you go about executing then? How would you then say, oh, I think it is gonna reverse before hitting here, then let me buy? So here is how you should do it. Here's how you should do it, guys. We're going down, support on higher time frame, either H4 daily, depending on which time frame you're looking at. If I'm looking at M15s, higher time frame can be H1 11. So this is the trend line. If it gets broken, I will only buy if it has to remove what? Remove two resistance areas for me to be able to lean towards that move. So it must remove this, and it doesn't remove this. So if it goes above, then I can look for any demand there or any support and then buy and say, oh, it seems like the move to the upside is very much strong, so we might not go and make it to the support that we wanted to buy from. It's very strong because of what? It removed 2 key structures of this bearishness, this short-term bearish move. The key structures of that bearish move, which I remember, key structure, support or resistance. So for me to say I'm bullish, I need to remove the resistance. For me to say I'm bearish, I need to violate the support. Whatever. So here the move would have taken out 2 resistance areas. Then I can say, oh, that move, it seems like this breakout of the trend line, it means business. Let me give it a shot and try to the upside. But if it just breaks one, or it doesn't break anything, it just breaks the trend line. If it just breaks the trend line and come here, someone can say, let's buy, we broke the trend line, but that was just a short-term trend or short-term momentum. So how do you know if this thing is just consolidating and then it's going to drop back to the support that we wanted? So for me to be able to buy from this, it must take this out, then that's when I can buy. If it doesn't do that, my eyes are still here. So sometimes it will break both of them and then give you this. Or if it doesn't give you that, if let's say it breaks both of them, and then it comes down, when you are saying the support is here on what? On the very same. Actually, this was the bigger support on higher time frame support. So this is the one that if it went there, you don't even hesitate, you just go in. Maharad, in this case, the trend line is here. It was broken before we hit the higher support, and then I said, for me to be able to say I think I can buy, it must remove 1 or 2. That's if the trend line gets broken before we hit the zone that we wanted, the high time frame, this one. If it gets broken before that, then I can say I want it to remove this and remove that. After doing that, I will say, let me look for an area where I can buy, because the momentum to the upside seems to be very strong. Then the support, the nearest support that I have is this one. I'm waiting here. So what if the thing goes up and it doesn't get to the support? I still missed the entry. But remember now, the thing that you need to add to your trend line, to your chart king, it gave me the new trend line. So I can always look for a pullback. Any pullback I'm gonna take. Any pullback I'm gonna take until the day it fails and goes below. Then I'm done. I'm no longer buying. I took all my profits. It kicked me out. So that's it, guys. That's how you should treat the trend line. Those are the number 6. The trick number 6, it might be confusing at first, but remember, I'll be touching on it as we move along. I'll be showing you on the chart. It's fine, you don't have to worry much about it. But the rest, they are keys. This one doesn't happen a lot, but it also happens sometimes. So if I see it on a chart, I'll always show you guys. So cheers, guys. Trend line is very important. You must be able to know how to draw it accurately and how to interpret it. So if it still confuses you, always come back to this video and watch the first video, the trend line. But this is the one that has more information than the first one. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.